mountains, juicy lawns. Some people come here on vacation. However, we're here to burn some rubber. It's the second half of the DTM season 2014, and we are here in Spielberg in Austria, and we are so ready for the qualifying. And one person who really likes this track, that is Daniel Juncadella. Hey Daniel, now before in the Formula 3 Europe Series, you really liked this track because you won twice. So for today, what is the goal? Perhaps getting into Q3?
Yeah, for sure, that is our main goal. Like you said, I really enjoy driving around this track, and it looks like we have a pretty good package this weekend. We look stronger than the past weekends, and I think that makes us be a bit more optimistic, and for sure Q3 is the objective.
All right, well, best of luck. Thank you, Daniel. And now Daniel is going to take us on a lap so we can get to know the track here.
Hello DTM fans, I'm Daniel Juncadella, and now I will present you with a lap to the Red Bull Ring. Here we're coming on the main straight, crossing the line. First corner, need to brake late, but mainly you have to focus a bit more about the exit, because it's a long straight coming up. Be careful with the track limits at the exit of turn 1. Then we have the longest straight of the track. Then you are arriving to the hardest braking point of the track, uphill braking, 100-meter braking, down to second gear. Very tricky on the exit. Always try to have good traction, but it's always quite tricky on this part of the track. Then we have another longish straight and braking again, 100-meter, again down to second gear, downhill corner, quite tricky. Be careful at the exit. Then we arrive to the fastest part of the track, which is this third gear corner, third, fourth gear. Then another left corner, the only two left corners of the track, fourth gear. Not a lot of braking. You have to use all the track as maximum as you're allowed to. And then the last two corners, quite a fast one. This one, be careful again with the track limits at the exit. And then the last corner, early braking and try to get maximum speed out of it using the whole track. And that's a lap to the Red Bull Ring.
Thanks very much to Danny Juncadella, then giving us a bird's eye view and a high-speed run around this fantastic Red Bull Ring circuit here in Austria. So the results of free practice 2, then you can see on screen in front of you. It was Farfus, Vitoris, Molina, Green, Wickens, Tomczyk, Felix da Costa, Wehrlein, Glock and Spengler in the top 10. And there's a bit of quiet confidence around the Mercedes camp that they've come here with a package which is going to, perhaps suit this circuit better than some that they've had across the season so far. Time will tell when we get into qualifying. Of course, it's all important in terms of where they're going to sit on the grid for tomorrow's race. So standing by to come out of the pit lane then, as you can see alongside me is Chris Hartley. And boy, in the sunshine here at Spielberg, this is exciting.
Absolutely right. It's cooled down a little bit, but this morning, 11 o'clock, it was already 26 degrees and the track temperature almost 50 degrees. But it's getting into early evening now here in Austria, so the track temperatures will begin to go down. They've had 2 free practice sessions. It's a track where BMW have a very strong history. They took all 3 places on the podium last year. Bruno Spengler in a BMW took pole position. Mercedes have, in the 3 years since DTM have been racing at this new version of the circuit, started life as the Österreich Ring. For 17 years it hosted Formula 1 Grand Prix, then took a break, then was remodelled into the shorter A1 circuit, and then it became the Red Bull Ring in 2011, and DTM have been coming here since then. But in that time, Mercedes have had just 1 podium finish. That was Gary Paffett, third place for him back in 2012. So it's a track where BMW go well, although 2 years ago it was Audi on pole with Eduardo Mortara, and he won the race as well. 23 cars then in qualifying. The session's divided into 3, and in this first session the slowest 5 will get knocked out, leaving us with 18, and then the next 10 will get knocked out for the final part of qualifying. The top 8 will all gun for pole position, Dave.
and it's a fantastic theatre, the qualifying with DTM, because it's not until the very, very last moment and beyond the last moment of each particular part of qualifying that we know who's going through. Interesting to see, with the temperature beginning to fall, who's going to come out early on and try and set some times. It's going to be Matthias Ekström, the first one that we see. And we put the clock on Matthias Ekström then as he crosses the timing line in the Red Bull liveried machine. How appropriate is that here in Spielberg? So Matthias Ekström we're watching right now as he wends his way up to, as Danny Juncadella told us, the very, very heavy braking section before turn 2. And I know you walked up there earlier, Chris, and it really is uphill, isn't it?
Yeah, right up the side of a mountain. It takes a long time to walk up there. It takes about 15 minutes to walk up there. It's a rise all the way from the start grid, actually. Up into turn 1 you rise, and then it climbs from turn 1 to turn 2. The last part, the last couple of hundred metres, is a really steep incline, which means they can brake super, super late, as Daniel Juncadella was saying there, on the onboard lap into that corner. But caution, if you go late and deep into the corner, it's very easy to run wide. It's still uphill on the way out of the corner for for about 30 or 40 metres, and you can kill all your speed. So you've got to judge it just right. And then, of course, the middle of the lap then, as they run down through this these double left-handers at Pirelli and Verth curve and down towards the Rindt curve, it's all downhill.
So Ekström then, who thus far has had a P2 at the opening round of the season, a P13, a P9, we won't talk about those, and then 2 P3s then coming from Norrisring and Moscow. He gives us our benchmark, a 1:25.989. Comparing that to free practice times, Chris, 1:25.989. Free practice 1. So 1:25.985 was the best from Maxime Martin. So P2 now, well, it changes every moment, doesn't it? This Christian Vitoris look going purple in the first 2 sectors.
You can see the incline up to turn 2 there, can't you, from that angle? It's up to turn 1 rather, it's really steep.
Vitoris goes quickest then. Then it's Timo Scheider, then it's Ekström, now it's Tomczyk goes P2. You can see the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen that constantly update to let you know who's in what position. But it's Vitoris is the quickest at the moment. Then it's Farfus, then it's Spengler, then it's Antonio Felix da Costa, but it all changes so quickly as Joey Hand now goes second fastest. This is Robert Wickens. Marco Wittmann, well, he goes quickest now with a 1:25.653. Marco Wittmann, of course, leading the championship charge going into this race at Spielberg. What a stellar season Marco Wittmann is having. Robert Wickens now goes quickest, 1:25.325.
Yeah, and Mercedes have had a troubled season so far. They've had good races when it's rained. Robert Wickens dominated at the Norrisring in wet conditions, but in the dry, the car was not competitive at the start of the season. But it's the start of the second half of the year now, and things are beginning to look up. Certainly Wickens and Vitoris were both in the top 3 during the free practice session, so the pace looks pretty good. They're followed at the moment by Audi's Green and the former double champion Ekström third, quickest Muller and Tombe make it 4 Audis inside the top 5. Vitoris has just gone through and put himself into 5th place at the moment. I should say in the practice session this morning, Dave, there was an almighty crash coming out of the last corner for Paul de Resta, who really damaged his Mercedes, didn't he?
Yes, the team have had a lot of work to do to put that car back together again, as Augusto Farfus now goes quickest with a 1:25.056. Here's Robert Wickens then on another hot lap. Purple in the first sector, green in the second sector. Let's see how Robert Wickens can answer that time of Augusto Farfus.
Tidy, isn't it? It's right on the edge of the circuit there, but it's carrying the speed and he's very smooth with it.
Oh, over the timing line, and 1:25.099 stays second fastest, doesn't he? Augusto Farfus was that 1:25.058. Mike Rockefeller, the current champion then, who will be looking to make amends following a torrid time at Moscow Raceway. Yeah, 10th quickest, 125.495 for Mike Rockenfeller. So it's Farfus, Wickens, then it's Wittmann, Tomczyk Green, Glock, Antonio Felix da Costa, then it's Spengler. So the man that did it at the Moscow Raceway, pole position and converted that to a race win, Maxime Martin then, green in the first 2 sectors.
Yeah, going well. Hadn't really sniffed a podium, and then he went to Moscow and won the race and looked very convincing. So Maxime Martin, his first season of DTM racing, spent most of his career racing GT cars internationally. Looking to go well. At the moment, Dave.
The lap.
Yeah, at the moment, Dave, if you're 0.7 of a second slower than the fastest time, you're out.
You're out.
Because Gary Paffett at the moment is below the line. He's 19th quickest. He's done 126.694. He's only 0.7 away from the fastest time. But he's out Matara. Martin, who's just binned his lap, Di Resta and Petrov are the 5 at the bottom of the picture at the moment, who are in fear of getting knocked out here with just less than 6 minutes to go in the session.
Here's Timo Scheider then in the black Auto Test liveried car. As we get the clock on him, he was green in the first sector and not so brilliant in the second sector for Timo Scheider, and he too bins the lap as well. Great onboard shot there as the early evening sunshine here in Spielberg beats its rays through the car. Here's Rocky then. What have we got left? 5 minutes left to run in this, the first part of qualifying.
And that's a casual pit stop because they can do it in 3 seconds, can't they, if they want to. Get these tyres changed in the races. Scheider comes in. Farfus is still quickest. One of the quickest laps on the calendar, this. Averaging over 180 kilometres an hour, around the 4.3 kilometres in free practice. But it's a very smooth surface, so the tyre degradation on the Hankooks has been very good.
Vitaly Petrov then. It was his home race last time out in DTM at the Moscow Raceway. A good first sector, not so brilliant second sector for Vitaly Petrov, who at the moment is right down the order, isn't he? And he bins the lap as well. So currently it's Farfus, Wittmann, Wickens, Antonio Felix da Costa, the top 4. Hastily repaired Paul Di Resta car on the way out of the pits following the excursion into the wall that you mentioned in free practice 2 earlier.
Yeah, the back end just snapped away through the final turn, didn't it, in free practice. Very quick accident. He was fine. The driver was okay, but a lot of damage to the back of the car, which they've had to hastily repair. On board now with Christian Vitoris, who has been the highest placed Mercedes driver by and large this season, with the exception of Robert Wickens' victory in the Norris Ring, and currently lying in 7th place in the championship. Only 2 Mercedes drivers in the top 10 in the points so far.
Extraordinary, isn't it? He, of course, taking the win at Oschersleben. So here is Vitoris. What a brilliant shot this is as they head towards the timing line now. And, well, Vitoris with a 126 plus. And that a super slow-mo of him running over the curb and onto the green there. Antonio Felix da Costa then with sparks flying from the front end of his BMW. BMW so dominant here last year. Maxime Martin now goes 7th quickest with a 125.370. It's still Farfus right at the top with a 124.967. Then it's Marco Wittmann, 125.059.
Daniel Hunkader's had a good start to his lap out there at the moment. You saw the onboard lap with him earlier. Set a personal best in sectors 1 and 2. Gary Paffett has just set a personal best in sector 1 as well. Both of them at the moment are in the bottom 5. And if either one of them improves, Adrian Tombe will go into the bottom 5. Now, Adrian has been one of the best qualifiers this year. The only one that's averaged better than him in qualifying is Marco Wittmann, who's averaged 4th place on the grid. Adrian has averaged 5th place on the grid. And, of course, he was on the front row for both of the first 2 rounds. So Tombe with work to do here.
Danny Juncadella goes 5th fastest, you're absolutely right. 125.310 from Danny Juncadella, which propels him up to P5 in this, the first part of qualifying here at the Red Bull Ring. Danny Juncadella with Mike Rockenfeller ahead of him. There's that little kink before you get up to turn 2. This is Gary Paffett then. Currently P20 in the Euronics liveried Mercedes-Benz. Gary Paffett heads towards the timing line and goes. Well, he improves 1 place, 19th fastest now, 1:25.577. That means he's just below the line of effectively non-qualifiers unless he can improve. We have just over 1 minute left to run, and Adrian Tombe runs wide. That will have compromised that lap. Sector 1, he'd done 22.153. Tombe knows that he needs to pull something magic out of the bag here.
At the moment, Paffett, Tombe, Mortara, the 2012 winner of this event, Petrov and Di Resta at the bottom 5. Timo Scheider is in by a whisker. He's got the same time as Gary Paffett, 1:25.577 to within a thousandths of a second. But Timo Scheider set the time first, so he stays above the cusp just for now. On the final lap, 30 seconds to go, Dave.
Yeah, so Tombe is going to have time for one more lap. Crosses the line now. And, well, we saw where he got it wrong in that lap. Now he can't afford to get it wrong now. I think that was Vitaly Petrov. He's got ahead of him. And Tombe really has got to motor the Playboy liveried car there. You can see with Adrian Tombe at the wheel. Here's Edo Mortara, another one that's down there, who's got the opportunity to put another good lap in and needs to, but his first sector didn't look brilliant at 22.170 for Eduardo Mortara. The clock disappears from the top of your screen. That means that this session is over, but those that are on a lap, the time will still count.
Paffett's taken the flag already, though, so he's out. Come what may now.
So Farfus, Wittmann, Wickens, Da Costa. And it's Maxime Martin, Pascal Wehrlein, Christian Vittoris, Danny Juncadella, Timo Glock. You can see the names all on the left-hand side of your screen.
The rest has also taken the flag and he's rock bottom, 23rd place, probably as a result of the rebuild of the car, I suspect.
I think you're absolutely right. So we're following Eduardo Mortara. Neither of those sector times that you can see on screen are giving us much confidence that he's going to propel himself higher than his P21. Let's see, though, as he crosses the timing line now. 1:25.666. Tombe. So we're going to lose Paffett, Tombe, Mortara, Petrov, and Di Resta.
Wow, that's a big surprise with Adrian Tombe. He's been so good in qualifying this year. He misses the cusp. He couldn't have missed it by a finer margin, could he? No. Exactly the same time as Timo Scheider. 1:25.577. And he had just above them by a few thousandths of a second as well. Was Muller, who just made it through. Nico Muller. So fine margins here. But Gary Paffett, the 2005 champion, having a shocker of a season with some bad luck. A car which hasn't always been competitive this year. And Gary, well, a new low point in the season for him as he fails to make it out of the bottom of the qualifying. So there's confirmation of the results on the screen. Augusto Farfus was quickest in the session, went well in free practice as well. And then it's Marco Wittmann, who's been the best qualifier this year. He's had 2 wins already this season. Of course, he leads the championship standings. But there at the bottom, that's the important thing. Those 5 drivers miss out. Not just Mercedes this time, though. They have got a couple of drivers that have been going pretty well. But 3 Mercedes in the bottom 5. Paffett, Tombe, Mortara, Petrov, the rest are all out.
Not one BMW in that out section. Interesting. Okay, so Farfus and Wittmann then, the top 2. Then it was Wickens and Antonio Felix da Costa. Maxime Martin, presumably high in confidence following his win in Moscow. Pascal Wehrlein, Christian Vittoris, Danny Juncadella, Timo Glock. And Tomczyk then rounding out the top 10 as we get a brilliant heli shot of the Red Bull there. And their confirmation of those that we lose from session 1 of qualifying: Gary Paffett, Adrian Tombe, Eduardo Mortara, Vitaly Petrov, and Paul Di Resta. All out from the first part of qualifying here at the Red Bull Ring. Some super slow-mos then of those that we leave. The car looks altogether different now than it did at the end of free practice 2. That's the car of Paul di Resta. Sadly, though, with a 1:25.932, he is out of qualifying. So too, the man that comes to Spielberg, hot foot from his home race at the Moscow Raceway, the Russian driver Vitaly Petrov. He's 1:25.856. Not enough to see him through to Q2. Eduardo Mortara in the Audi Sport liveried RS5. He is 1:25.666. Again, not enough to see him through to the next part of qualifying. Adrien Tombe, as Chris alluded earlier, has been so impressive in qualifying in parts during the course of this season. Failed to do so today. He's 1:25.599, not enough. And, well, perhaps a biggest surprise of them all, Gary Paffett, such a stellar racing driver, finds himself out following Q1. So the Euronics car not delivering for him today.
It's the first time that Gary Paffett, Adrien Tombe and Paul di Resta this season haven't made it through the first part of qualifying. Petrov has already suffered this problem this year, and Mortara in the first round went out early on but has since qualified very well. Has had top 4 starts in 3 of the 4 races since, but Mortara, a bit of a shock as well to see him out there. A resigned Gary Paffett makes his way back to the garage a lot earlier than he would have liked without his car.
Now, the thing is, Gary overnight hasn't become a bad racing driver.
Absolutely
He's
not.
A brilliant racing driver, and he's such a model employee as well. Always sings the right PR song, if you like, but inwardly he must be so frustrated.
Absolutely right. Unlike any other sports, this is not just down to you, it's down to the equipment, it's down to some luck, it's down to the setup of the car, and it's not worked for him at all this year, really. Gary Paffett is really struggling this year. As you say, he's not a bad driver. He's been in the top 2 in the championship many times. He's won the championship. He's been good enough to test Formula 1 cars for the last 10 years or something. So, and Paul di Resta, of course, as well. We know about his talents, but he's had a difficult return to the championship. So frustrating, but and for this man, Eduardo Mortara, that is a shock. Almost as surprising as the fact that we lost Tombe. Mortara, of course, 3rd in the championship, let's not forget.
Okay, well, we were talking about Gary Paffett. We know that he's going to feel pretty down, but a smile from Verena will cheer him up. She's with him right now.
Well, I'm not so sure that's going to help. I'm sure, Paul, Gary, you're really disappointed. P19. What is the problem? Because the other Mercedes drivers, or 4 of them, were way in the front. What was the problem for you today?
We're trying different things on the cars, so not all the cars are exactly the same. So it appears we've managed to make some cars a bit quicker than others, but we have to try things, and we have a few different bits on the cars, so we just didn't manage to maximize the setup. I mean, I lost a lot of testing this morning. We had an engine problem this morning, and I missed half the practice session, so we didn't get a time to get the car to its best, and that's it. I mean, the gaps are very slow. We're losing a couple of tenths, so it's not a lot of lap time, but it makes a big difference. So for the team, it's great that we're making a bit of progress, but for me, obviously, it's a shame. Yeah.
Big shame also because Timo Scheider at the same time as you, but he said it first, so he's further, you're not.
It's incredible, I think, when you go to a thousandth of a second and you can do exactly the same time. It's pretty amazing, but as you say, that's just bad luck, really. So.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Gary. And I did get a smile there, even though it wasn't a happy smile. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Verena, very much. And what I was saying about he is the model employee. Look, we're changing the cars. We can't change them all at the same time. We're trying different things. Mercedes are really working hard. Paul di Resta is with Verena now.
Paul, how frustrating is that? Today in the practice, you really hit the wall hard, and now P23, does that mean the car the mechanics didn't manage to get it all set up straight, or what was the problem today?
They did a very good job to get the car out. A lot of damage. Not an ideal moment. I think it's a track that I'd never been to, so only having, I think, 12 laps going into qualifying, and when the car is as tricky as it is at the moment, we just weren't optimised and not really got it together. So I think I can only really blame myself for the mistake I made this morning. It's unusual for me to do something like that, but at the same point, it's going to be a long day tomorrow where we are, but equally we'll try and do what we can, because it shows that some of the cars do have speed, but I have not quite managed to get it out today.
Well, best of luck for tomorrow. Thank you very much, Paul. Back to you guys.
Verena, very much, thank you. Paul di Resta there saying, look, credit to the team. They got the car back together. It was down to me, really, that I put it in the wall. But as he said, you know, you kind of don't get a lot of time behind the wheel anymore, do you? You know, and for someone like Paul di Resta coming here, which is effectively for the first time.
Yeah, no, it's a good point that he makes, because he won the title in DTM in 2010. Then, of course, he went off to race in Formula One for Force India. And it was only 2011, the year after he left, that the circuit reopened under the ownership of Dietrich Mateschitz and the Red Bull concern, and came here the following season. So no, he hasn't raced here in DTM, or hasn't raced here at all. So that's part of the problem. That, of course, having missed that chunk of free practice when he had the moment, which sent him into the wall on the exit to the final corner. So there's the championship leader, Marco Wittmann. All going well for him at the moment. Very good start to qualifying. He was up there second fastest. So now we've got 18 cars left, Dave. 10 of them, more than half of them, are going to disappear at the end of this 10-minute session.
Yes, they are. And that 10 minutes are going to go very, very quickly indeed. So we put the clock on Marco Wittmann, who delivers in the first sector of purple, a 22.218 for Marco Wittmann. Then the Ice Watch liveried BMW. Marco Wittmann, who has been so impressive this season, and of course leads the championship ahead of Matthias Ekstrom. And Marco's really come on and developed over the course of the races that we have seen this season. 37.9 for the middle sector. It's going to give us the benchmark for the remaining 8 and a bit minutes of this second part of qualifying here at the Red Bull Ring, as he heads for the timing line now. Marco Wittmann sets a 1:25.5. That, of course, puts him to the top of the chart just for the moment, because that's the first time to show. Then it's green with a 1:27. Mike Rockenfeller quickly P3 now, Farfus P2. Here's Martin Tomczyk, 2 greens in the first 2 sectors for Martin Tomczyk. What can he deliver for us now? A 1:26.179, P7. Robert Wickens, one of the faster Mercedes, clearly, with 2 purple sectors. 1:25.5 is the benchmark time as Robert Wickens head for the timing line now. He goes quickest with a 1:25.050. We're expecting the times to come sub 1:25. Augusto Farfus will reply, I feel sure. First time we're going to see from Augusto Farfus. Car number 1 is under investigation. That is car of Mike Rockenfeller. Interestingly, it doesn't tell us why. Most of the messages we get up on the timing screen are failing to manage track limits, and the 2 vulnerable places are turn 1 and turn 8, where all 4 wheels can go over. But for Mike Rockenfeller, it just says under investigation, Chris.
Okay, so keep an eye on that one. And it could be very relevant indeed. Augusto Farfus looking good on this lap. Is he going to set a new benchmark? No, he's not. 6th quickest, 1:25.5. You're absolutely right. We're looking for at least a low 1:25 to make it through, I think, or to be guaranteed to make it through to the top 8. Pole position last year, set by Bruno Spengler, was a 1:24.8. The cars and the tyres were essentially the same as they were last year. So we should be aiming for that. Timo Glock at the moment is on the cusp. In fact, he's been pushed down a couple more places now. Timo Glock almost won this race last year. He had a problem with the wheel nut, so we'll be looking to improve. Wickens fastest though for the Mercedes. Wittmann second, and Pascal Wehrlein, who's really starting to come on this year as well. The youngster, one of the younger drivers in the field, and the German has gone 3rd quickest. The Russian winner, Maxim Martin, is 4th. Then Joey Hahn going well in 5th. Da Costa, another BMW going well. Vitoris and Spengler are the drivers inside the top 8 at the moment.
We've got just over 5 minutes left to run as we're watching the Deutsche Post liveried car of Timo Glock, who is currently right on that, right below the line, isn't he? And it needs to improve on his 1:25.389 by some measure, I would say. to ensure that he goes through to the next part of qualifying. It's the next part of qualifying where the front part of the grid gets set for tomorrow's race. Matthias Ekström then with 2 greens across the first 2 sectors. 1:25.050 is the benchmark time, and a 1:25.5 from Matthias Ekström. Nothing like enough to even propel him through. Early evening sunshine there glaring into the windscreen. Here's Timo Glock, who's had a reasonable first sector, a less reasonable sector 2. Is currently P11, which is well below the line. It's only the top 8 that are going to go through, isn't it?
Yeah, about a minute ago, Jamie Green improved to go up to 4th place. So he's pushed Bruno Spengler, the 2012 champion, down to 9th place now. 8th place is Christian Vitoros with a 1 minute 25.352, which is 8 thousandths quicker than Spengler, who's below the line at the moment. And in fact, Da Costa, who's 7th quickest, is just fractionally quicker as well, only 100th of a second quicker with the 125.343. So absolutely minute margins. You've got Da Costa, Vitoros, Spengler, Rockenfeller and Glock. Those 5 drivers all within a 1/10 of a second of each other.
Now, this is Danny Juncadella, who thus far hasn't set a time. Talk about leave it late, Chris. We have just 3.5 minutes left to run. Here's Matthias Ekström.
Personal best in the first 2 sectors for Eki, and he needs to be, because he's down toward the tail end at the moment. Is this going to get Ekström up only by 1 place? So Matthias Ekström is still time to get a couple more laps out of this, but the 04 and 07 DTM champion is struggling at the moment just to find that extra couple of tenths to get him up into the top 8.
And now, of course, there's traffic out there, isn't there? And there we watch him around the Remus turn, the turn 2 here at the Red Bull Ring. Wickens fastest, 1:25.050. Then it's Wittmann, then it's Wehrlein, then it's Green. Mike Rockefeller then put some heat into the Hankook rubber with 2.5 minutes left to run. Still don't know why he was under investigation, or indeed is under investigation. We've not been told that that investigation has been completed yet.
Now this might tell us the answer why.
Unsafe release, perhaps.
So the pits comes Rocky. All looks well at the moment. Yeah, you see car coming past there in the distance, and we didn't see what the result of that was, but it may well be, as you say, an unsafe release that they're looking at least. They haven't done anything about it yet, but they are looking into it.
And confirmation on the screen there that Mike Rockefeller under investigation. We suspect that's for an unsafe release from the earlier trip down the pit lane. Well, now, with 1.5 minutes left to run in this part of qualifying, it's Wickens, Wittmann, Wehrlein, Green, Maxime Martin, Joey Hand, Augusto Farfus and Antonio Felix da Costa, which means underneath the line at the moment, Vitoris, Spengler, Rockefeller, Glock, Ekström, Tomczyk, Timo Scheider, Juncadella and Molina.
Well, it goes through, but it's not a great lap. He stays rock bottom within the session. So Miguel Molina, who was really good in qualifying in the first 2 rounds, but got excluded both times. One for an issue with not having a dummy camera in the car when he was on the front row of the grid, and another when he was clearly on pole position by quite some tenths in the second round at Oschersleben, when a rear wing technical infringement caused him to be excluded there. But it's not going that well for him here.
Timo Glock has just belted in a 1:25.196, which has put him 4th. And what that means is that Spengler has now dropped below the line. We're on board with Christian Vitoris, who's had a good first sector, not such a good second sector. Can he wrestle it all in the final sector then for Christian Vitoris? He's currently P11, which is not enough. He will have time for one more lap after this one. But what can he deliver with this one? Well, he can deliver the 5th fastest time, a 1:25.202.
And it means that Augusto Farfus, last year's championship runner-up, who's been going so well in free practice in the earlier part of qualifying, is out at the moment. It's so tight. It's 5 thousandths of a second the difference now. Hand has been pushed out to 9th place now, so it's Robert Wickens, fastest for Mercedes, then Wittmann, the championship leader for BMW. Pascal Wehrlein, the 18-year-old, the flag comes out. Farfus, Glock, Vitrus, Green and Martin was the one that went quicker and got into the top 8. Everybody now on their last lap of the session, including that man, Bruno Spengler. Mollen has gone through, he fails to improve. Got to keep an eye if anybody's on a good lap now at the end of the session. Bruno Spengler's had a good middle sector here, hasn't he? We're only talking thousandths of a second, Dave.
Well, he's not done enough. So it's Spengler out. Here's Matthias Ekström. Fascinating to hear it being pummeled around this circuit. There's Mike Rockenfeller.
Personal best for Rocky in Sector 2. That doesn't mean he's going to improve enough, does it?
No, not necessarily. So Jamie Green in the all-orange car, but it's Mike Rockenfeller that we're watching.
No improvement.
No.
For Rocky, 13th and under investigation. What a great day for the reigning champion.
Last across the line, Danny Juncadella pulls a bit out, but not enough. So that means we're going to lose Joey Hand, Bruno Spengler, Martin Tomczyk, Daniel Juncadella, Antonio Felix da Costa, Mike Rockenfeller, Timo Scheider, Matthias Ekström, and Miguel Molina. Those going through: Wittmann, Wickens, Wehrlein, Farfus, Glock, Vittorius, Martin, and Green. And you look at that top 8, Chris Hartley, and there's only really one of those drivers that I would say is from the old guard of DTM, and that's Jamie Green.
That's right, yeah, Jamie has gone well. There's confirmation of the results on your screen. He just made it though, didn't he? In 8th place. Jamie Green has only got into the top 8 once so far this season, and that was, guess where? At the Norris Ring, his favourite circuit. So there are the 5 that are out. Antonio Felix da Costa, Mike Rockenfeller out. Of course, that's the big one, the current champion. Scheider, Ekström and Molina all out as well. And Gadea and Tomczyk, the 2011 champion, out as well for BMW. And Marco Wittmann and Robert Wickens look to be the 2 setting the pace. I suppose the other one that looked like he might threaten for pole position was Augusto Farfus, but he's now been knocked out of the running. And young Pascal Wehrlein going really well here, the 18-year-old. He drives for the Euronics Mercedes team. He has only once this season been in the final part of qualifying, where he managed to get 4th place at the Norris Ring.
So the point I was going to go on to make, Chris, is you look at the drivers who are now going through to the next session of qualifying, and I'm tempted to say young guns. Maxime Martin, Christian Vittorius, Timo Glock, Augusto Farfus, Pascal Wehrlein, Robert Wickens, Marco Wittmann. Of course, Jamie Green is the one that sticks out like a sore thumb in a way.
Yeah, Jamie Green, who has, of course, spent the bulk of his career racing with Mercedes in DTM, made his debut back in 2005, the year that his friend and compatriot Gary Paffett won the title, but switched to Audi 2 seasons ago.
Confirmation of those that are out then: Joey Hand, Bruno Spengler, Martin Tomczyk, Daniel Juncadella, Antonio Felix da Costa, Mike Rockenfeller, Timo Scheider, Matthias Ekström and Miguel Molina. Then the final part of qualifying to come, and we will ascertain how the front part of the grid is going to look for the race here at the Red Bull Ring tomorrow. So we're seeing Mike Rockenfeller there.
Shake of the head there.
Yeah, abjectly disappointed, I'm sure. Danny Juncadella there removing his crash helmet. We saw Ralf Schumacher with Mr. Mucker on the pit perch, didn't we, just a few moments ago? There is Danny, who shakes his head as well.
Yeah, gave it a good go on the final lap, didn't he? It was his best lap of the stint, but within a 10th of a second, and that was all it took. It was a very good time from Wittmann. We're concentrating obviously on the ones that would get knocked out, but Wittmann with the 1:25.046, that was a great time. Wickens almost matched him there, 1:25.050. 4 thousandths between those two. It's going to be a great fight for pole position.
It is. Okay, some super slow-mos, though, of those that we lose from that second part of qualifying, including the Audi RS5 of Miguel Molina. And there we can see disappointment etched all over the face as he walks down the pit lane. Matthias Ekstrom, after a strong showing both in Moscow and Nürburgring, he's out and he's with Verena right now.
He certainly is. Eki, you're starting tomorrow in P16 with a Red Bull car at the Red Bull racetrack. What are your hopes for tomorrow, that from P16 you can go all the way in the front?
Oh, I think tomorrow will be a different day, as it looks. For a few times, I must say, we had no mistakes, nothing. We are too slow, and that's a bit disappointing for sure, but still there's a long race to go tomorrow.
And quite frankly, with all the uphill, downhill, it's a challenging track, but how big is the fun factor here as well?
Yeah, I mean, sure, it's fun, and but it's always only fun when you run up the front. At the back, it's not so enjoyable, and have to be fair and say, I think we did the best we could with what we had, and hardly to say, but I think it's a fair result.
Yeah, but I hope you have wings for tomorrow. Thank you very much, Eki. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Verena. Well, Eki then, forever the optimist. Long race tomorrow, isn't it? Let's see. As we see the remaining slow-mos of those that we're losing, including Martin Tomczyk then.
So these experienced drivers like Paffett and Ekstrom, they've seen it all before, haven't they? I mean, motorsport does throw more disappointment at you than success. Right, another one that went out was Bruno Spengler. He's now talking to Verena. Down to you, Verena.
Yeah, Bruno at the moment is fixing his shoes. But Bruno, last year you won here, and today you're P10. What are the chances of tomorrow doing really well in the race?
Yeah, very disappointing result today. I'm very, very disappointed about today. It's not at all the result we hoped for. But on the other hand, when you look at free practice this morning, we struggled a lot in free practice. So it was a tough job for the team to improve the car for quali in the short time. We were just not there this morning in free practice, and we were not there again in quali. We did not find the right balance on our car, unfortunately. But it's motorsports. It can't be always perfect. Moscow was quite good for us. Today we did not find. I mean, the team was pushing hard to give me the best car they could in quali. We improved for quali, but still not good enough. So you never know what can happen tomorrow in the race. In Budapest I started P9 and came P3, so with a good strategy tomorrow, who knows?
And who knows, maybe your team will do some magic overnight. Thank you very much and best of luck, Bruno. And now there's Rocky. Let me just grab Rocky. Now, Rocky, you're starting in P14 tomorrow. However, you're under investigation, I think, because of an unsafe release. Have you heard anything there?
Yeah, I just heard that we are under investigation, but I think it shouldn't be a problem. I went out, I was, I think, still in front, and it's qualifying, so I think it's a bit too much. But anyway, it's up to the stewards. But I will start in 17 because I have 3 grid positions from Moscow, so it's even worse. So anyway, P14 was bad and P17 is even worse.
So you're not very optimistic about something happening tomorrow, some magic, I don't know what.
No, not really. This year I don't think magic can happen because strategy is completely different compared to last year. So therefore we try our best, but I think it's difficult to score points tomorrow.
So does that mean you gave up the fight for defending the title?
Well, to be honest, I don't think about it. I think the championship is far away. I think we are not really in contention to fight for it. So I think we should focus on from race to race. And tomorrow is the first one, and already starting position is bad. So I think championship is far away, and now I just think about the race and try my best tomorrow.
Right. Do that. Thank you, Rocky. And now, last but not least, is Timo Scheider. Can we go over here? Because I guess Quali is starting the next session. So, Timo, starting from P15 and 14.
14, I think it's 14. And I think, as far as I know, is Mike on a penalization from the last race. So it's +3. So it's 14 or 13 in the end. Whatever is not good enough. We expected something better from the Audi side. To have just one Audi in the top 10 is disappointing for all of us. We need to analyze what happened, but the others improved quite a lot.
Thank you, Timo, and back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Verena. Okay, we're into the final part of qualifying. We're watching Augusto Farfus right now. Chris, very interested to hear what some of those drivers had to say, particularly Mike Rockenfeller.
Yeah, sort of a wry smile on his face, wasn't it? The penalty that he's talking about was after the collision that he had with Adrian Tombe at Moscow Raceway. So as a result of that, whatever he did today, he was going to get 3 places further back on the grid. But a very disappointed Timo Scheider there. Of course, he's the last driver to win back-to-back championships. It doesn't look like Mike Rockenfeller is going to win back-to-back championships now. He looks resigned to that fact.
Yeah, you're right. He does look resigned to that. But do you know what? Whatever grid penalty he got for that incident with Adrian Tombe at Moscow, you will never, ever hurt him any more than he was hurting that day. He looked, you know, he was almost inconsolable. He was so disappointed with himself. So, okay, let's focus on now and what we've got going on now. And we are looking at the front end of the grid and who is going to be where. In just over 8.5 minutes' time, we will know. At the moment, Augusto Farfus then with a 22.091 in the first sector. He's gone purple in the second sector as well. Farfus is going to give us, therefore, the first benchmark time to show in this, the final part of qualifying to set the grid for the DTM race here at the Red Bull Ring tomorrow. He crosses the time in line now, 1:25.435. Nominally, of course, it puts him right at the top at the moment.
Yeah, but that's not going to be the time that takes pole position. Farfus is definitely a contender. As I said, he's gone really well in free practice, but he almost got knocked out and didn't make it into this final part of qualifying. He was on the cusp for quite a long time. A minute or so to go, he was down in 10th place, but just scraped in. And he's given himself a chance now. He's got a real chance here, Robert Wickens, of getting his second pole position of the year to follow on from the one he got 2 rounds ago at the Norris Ring. So he's carrying the flag at the moment for Mercedes, but loses the back end of the car. Into a spin he goes, and nice load of runoff there. Keep his foot in. He won't get anywhere near the barriers, and that's coming out of turn 8. That is where Paul di Resta had his crash this morning, but it snapped away from him much more ferociously. Paul di Resta this morning, he couldn't control, he had no chance, and he went into the barriers. But this was a 4-wheel drift more than the sort of back end snapping away, which is what we saw from di Resta earlier on. But you've got to push it through there, Dave, because if you don't, A, it ruins the end of one lap, but B, it ruins the start of the next lap. The final corner is so important here.
And ultimately, it just proves how far each of those drivers are really on the ragged edge. They're pushing it and themselves to the absolute limit, aren't they, to extract the final 1,000th out of the car.
Well, you've got to, because we've already seen drivers getting knocked out of the session within the same thousandths of a second of each other. He'll go in, he'll put some new Hankooks on, and he'll still have time to go back out again with 6.5 minutes remaining on the clock as Pascal Wehrlein goes to the top of the times now. 1:25.246. It's a pretty good lap. Still not quite convinced that it's good enough, though. Not for pole, anyway.
No, with 6 minutes left to run, it's Wehrlein. Then it's Farfus.
That was, even though it was slightly ragged on that lap by the looks of things, so maybe there's a bit more time in him yet.
Yeah, perhaps so. Timo Glock then. Green in the first and second sector. So the Deutsche Post liveried car of Timo Glock, former Formula One star here, loving his time in the DTM and just getting better and better and better. Crosses the timing line now, goes 4th fastest.
So 1:25.2 still the benchmark time. Farfus is second with a 1:25.435. And then Maxime Martin going well again, isn't he? Third, quickest at the moment, 1:25.481 for the BMW driver who won at Moscow and got pole position there, of course, as well. Here he is.
So Maxime Martin should come here high in confidence, shouldn't he, following that pole position and win at the Moscow Raceway. Well, that's not a brilliant time from Maxime Martin. Previously, though, he did a 1:25.481, which sees him P3. Now, Marco Wittmann, of course, has had and enjoyed so much success this year. Green in the first 2 sectors, so Wittmann then heads towards the timing line. Where is this going to put him? Well, 4th fastest. So at the moment it's Wehrlein, Farfus, Martin and Wittmann. The top 4 followed by Glock, Vittoris, Wickens, and yet to set a time is Jamie Green.
Marco Wittmann then is the only driver in the DTM that's made it through to the final part of qualifying 6 times out of 6 now. His worst grid, 8th. He's been on pole twice, he's been on the front row as well a further time at Hockenheim. Here's Jamie Green then. It's going to be setting a time now by the looks of things. Obviously it's green because it's his first flying lap. Makes his way through the left-hander at Pirelli down towards the left-hander at the Verth curve now. Quite a long run downhill into that part of the track. Meanwhile, Maxime Martin has set the quickest time of anybody in the middle sector here. So this could be seeing the Belgian up onto the front row of the grid. Out of the final turn he comes. Can he improve? Can he get up into the top 2? Yes, he can. He goes second quickest. Bumps Farfus down to 3rd place. Oh, that's not a bad first lap from Jamie Green, is it?
No, it isn't.
Straight up to the front row.
Here comes Marco Wittmann. Fastest of anybody in the second sector. He's going to head towards the timing line now. And Wittmann, at the moment, goes quickest, a 1:25.228.
Team the clock's going well at the moment, though. Personal best in sector 1. Quicker than anybody else so far in the longer run through sector 2. How's he going to come? Nice and tidy coming out of the final turn. Certainly going to improve on 6th place. Where will he end up? Fastest! Timo Glock, as I said, almost won this race last year, but for some bad luck he would have done. There he is. He's gone fastest, the former Grand Prix driver, to the top of the times.
Robert Wickens then. Green in the first sector. Not so good second sector. At the moment he is P8 and runs just a bit wide towards the exit of that final turn 8, doesn't he? And, well, improves enough to go to P7. So Glock, Wittmann, Wehrlein, Green, Martin, Farfus, Wickens and Vittoris.
Farfus with a personal best in the middle sector, 37.900 seconds, and he about a 10th away from the very best times in that middle sector. I think he'll improve with this one. The Brazilian about to cross the line with less than 2 minutes to go. 3rd quickest. We're on board now with Christian Vittoris, who's last in the group. He's 8th, but he's also improved in the first 2 sectors, Dave.
Yes, he has. He crosses the timing line. He now goes 6th fastest. Christian Vittoris, great to have that onboard shot of him working the Mercedes around this circuit here at the Red Bull Ring. Comes Robert Wickens. We've got less than 1.5 minutes remaining in this session before the checkered flag comes out. If you've crossed the line before the checkered flag, then you can complete a further lap, and it's going to get very, very interesting over the next 90 seconds or so. Robert Wickens with personal bests in the first 2 sectors. Is that going to be enough, though? He's right at the bottom of the 8 at the moment in P8. Let's see what he can do. P6 for Robert Wickens with a 1:25.354. That sends Vittoris and Maxime Martin now down to P7 and P8.
Since he went back out after that spin, he got quicker and quicker and quicker with his 3 laps. Here's Jamie Green then flying the flag for Audi, the only Audi in the final part of qualifying at the moment. He is 5th quickest, but personal best in sectors 1 and 2. 1:25, a low 1:25 is what he needs. He goes through and he's 5th, so couldn't quite get up onto the 2nd row of the grid.
Well, we're not going to see another time from Maxime Martin. That car is being put into the garage as we speak. We can see from our commentary position high in the building as we watch Christian Vittoris now. Poor first sector, better middle sector, and not so good 3rd sector. He stays P7. So Maxime Martin then, his car is gone. We are counting down with just 1 second remaining. So it is this lap and no more for Robert Wickens. He's gone personal best sector 1 and sector 2. He's currently P6. Can Robert Wickens find just that extra 100th as he heads towards the final turn here? And the timing line, what's Robert Wickens going to deliver for us as the checkered flag comes out? He goes P1, 1:25.175. What a story.
Really good comeback that. 4 laps since that spin, and each one was quicker than the one before. We've still got some cars out on the track though, including Jamie Green, including Augusto Farfus, Vitoris out there as well. So it's not done yet, but Robert Wickens looking for his second pole of the season. What can Farfus do? Can he get higher than 4th place? Through he comes, over the line he goes. No, he stays 4th. So tight though, isn't it, at the top in terms of the times. He's a fraction, he's 9 thousandths of a second away from 3rd there, from Marco Wittmann's time. And the last one to come through is going to be Pascal Wehrlein, but I think he might have aborted the lap. So, yep, he's out. So that's it. They're all through. What a great drive that was from Robert Wickens for the Freeman's World Mercedes team.
Talk about nail it right to the end, Chris.
Took some bottle as well after that spin, didn't it?
Yeah. Really impressive. Really impressive. So, everyone down there celebrating the success. Robert Wickens, then it's Timo Glock, Marco Wittmann, Augusto Farfus, Pascal Wehrlein, Jamie Green, Christian Vitoris, and Maxime Martin. Well, that man delivered when it mattered, didn't it? And that was the reaction in the garage and on the pit perch. A bit more reserved on the pit perch, really. Disappointing, perhaps?
First 3 races of the season, Wickens qualified 20th, 19th and 17th. If you'd have said to him then, in the next 3 races, you'll be on pole twice, I think he would not have believed you.
There, confirmation then of the results from the final part of qualifying. It's Robert Wickens and Timo Glock on the front row with Marco Wittmann, Augusto Farfus. The next row then it's Pascal Wehrlein, Jamie Green, Christian Vitoris and Maxime Martin. As there we can see Mr. Wolfgang Schattling then with his sigh of relief.
They've been working hard to get this car sorted, haven't they?
They have worked tirelessly, and you know, as Gary went on to say when he was talking to Verena, what they're doing, they're making adjustments to different cars. Cars are going to be on different strategies. They're just trying to optimise what they possibly can across their fleet, if you like, that's in the race. And clearly the setup they've given Robert Wickens is a good one, isn't it?
I think they're back. Mercedes are back. They've had results, as I say, in the wet, but now they are competitive on a level playing field in the dry conditions. So Robert Wickens taking pole position. Timo Glock will be on the front row of the grid with him. He's well chuffed as well. Timo Glock, that was a very strong performance by him. He was on the front row of the grid in Hungaroring, but that equals his best qualifying of the season. And then we'll have Marco Wittmann, the championship leader, in a good position as well.
Yes.
He'll start 3rd.
Yes.
Jamie Green, the best of the Audis. 6th place for Jamie. He can be pretty satisfied with that as well. As you say, good for the old guard to be leading the way for Audi, so he'll be pretty pleased about that. Jamie Green, his 2nd best qualifying of the season. And there he is, Jamie Green. Good job, Jamie. Well done on the 3rd row of the grid. The only highlight, though, for Audi, wasn't it?
Now, you see, what's happened with Robert Wickens is, and I'll mention this to Verena, is that he's taken her advice and had his hair cut.
It's a few tenths, isn't it? Maybe if Timo shaves the beard off,
yeah,
well,
maybe.
On pole.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, that was, I think, a sensational performance from Robert Wickens.
Yes.
He's really come on this season, hasn't he?
Yes.
And we saw that really beginning last year. He got his first win last year, started to get some good results, but he's in a good place at the moment. And well done to Timo Glock as well. He's only his 2nd season. Many Formula 1 drivers have come and gone and not achieved results, and he has certainly shown that he's a very good driver as well.
Take a look at Marco Wittmann then in the Ice Watch BMW M4 DTM then leading the